Are you somebody that's working longer than you have to? The reality is that might be you and you don't even know it yet. In this video, we're going to cover off a case scenario that we worked through with a client that thought they had to work 1 to 2 more years to face their retirement dreams. The reality is they could retire today. And I want to go through the numbers. We're going to share the software and break it down because a lot of you are working longer than you need to and you think you need more money. You haven't properly planned or you've had a bad plan put in place. Doing things the right way may get you to retirement quicker. And the reality is, after you put in 30, 40 years of hard work, we all want to get to retirement in a comfortable spot. You might be there, but you don't know it. Let's jump into the software. So let's jump into the software. We use Snap Projections, which is what we believe is a leading provider in software here in Canada for retirement projections. But we have a 65-year-old couple. We have them retiring now at 65. That's what they want to do. Life expectancy to age 90. We set inflation at 2.5% going forward. They have no income, so they're done working, so we have no incomes in there. Now, on the asset side of things, this is where things kind of bumped up against. So the client had only saved $250,000, which for a lot of people in Canada, depends where you live, you might think, well, I can't really live off $250,000. Like I need 500, a million. We did a video a while ago. You need $1.7 million to retire, which, we debunked that. But what is that number? Again, it's going to be different for everybody. Your lifestyle needs, where you live in Canada. There's a lot of factors that come into how much you need. So any article out there that says, here's how much you need to retire, well, that's based on one person. And you might be very different. You might need a lot less, you might need a lot more. I talk to hundreds of Canadians every single year around retirement, around their retirement. And let me tell you, we have people over here and people over here, and there's no right or wrong here. It's just different. And this is why it's important to make sure you understand what you need, what your situation is, what your income requirements, how to do it properly. So Mr. and Mrs. YouTube, when they came to us, their current planner at bank had told them they need to work another 1 or 2 years to hit their goals of $5,000 a month after tax in the go-go phase of retirement. They had an RSP of $75,000 each, $50,000 tax-free savings account, so the same asset base for each of them. They didn't have any debts. They were in a good position there. As for government benefits, at 65 now, they were entitled, both of them, to about 75% of the maximum. So we've set the maximum here at 75%, old age security at 100%. So when we put in their data, we ran the numbers, and you'll see here, if we go to a combined view, and we want to look at the total combined, real is $54,467. So again, that maps out level all the way down to age 90. So not quite as much as they needed. Obviously, they're about $5,000 short every single year adjusted to inflation, which is a big number. So when they reach out to our office and they kind of threw some numbers and we said, you know what, let's run through these numbers. I think we're going to be able to make it work for you and get creative, do proper planning, tax planning, structure all of that to see if we can get you there. Our goal for our clients is many things, but 2 of the main factors are to get you to retire as soon as possible, because most of you want to. Again, there's the odd person that wants to keep retiring because they don't know what they're going to do. But for most of you, we want to get you to retirement as quick as possible. The second thing is we want to give you peace of mind of you can spend X amount early and be okay later. Too many of you are holding your money tight early in retirement. You're fearful of running out of money. Again, we just did a video on that. Make sure you watch that video. Running out of money is a real fear, but putting a plan together allows you to spend money early in that go-go phase when you can actually go travel and spend money and do things. You only have so much time to do that. Don't waste it away. So in this scenario, and this is what the bank had put together for them, they were starting their CPP at 65, old age security 65, and just kind of drawing down the minimum amount. I'll show you what Mr. YouTube here was doing, and you can see that it's not a super efficient plan. Like the RSP is being drawn down, a bit of tax-free savings, just kind of equally being drawn down over time. But again, not hitting their income needs. So, okay, do they need to work longer? Do they need to save up more money? What's kind of that sweet spot? Or can they retire and kind of restructure stuff a little bit? So as we worked through this plan with the clients, we said, look, let's see what CPP does, starting CPP a bit later, so age 70. So what we did is for both Mr. and Mrs. YouTube, we bumped CPP till 70. We left old age security at 65. Now we did that, and I'll show you here in a second. We did look to bump it to 70. We scaled it back to 65 for cash flow purposes. They were going to run out of money for proper cash flow planning otherwise. So if we bump CPP to 70 for both of them, and we go into the planning page, Now we're looking at Mrs. YouTube. The other thing we did, so we've done two things in this scenario. We've bumped CPP start date from age 65 to 70, and with the RIF account, the RSP, we converted to RIF, we drew it down more aggressively. So you can see here, we've emptied out their RIF account essentially by the time CPP starts. What this does is it lowers their tax bill, levels things out a little bit better. Again, because they have a lower income, they don't have a high tax rate. So imagine this. You hit retirement, you're drawing about $60,000 a year after tax for your household, $5,000 a month in your household pocket. You're paying almost 0% tax. This is where it's different than when you're working. There's a lot of tax breaks, tax credits. It works differently. Tax income splitting if you need to. Again, they had equal assets, so their income splitting is 0 here, but that can also save you some taxes along the way. Again, if you're single, you'll still experience a lot of these tax credits and benefits. Your tax rate, your average tax rate may be a little bit higher, but there's still tax benefits as you walk into retirement, especially if you do some proper planning. So as we melt down that RIF, you can see here, we've done the same thing for Mr. So again, same $16,000 a year. Now, when we look at a combined view, and I know there's a lot of numbers on here, I'm just focusing on the small changes that we made, the CPP and the RIF drawdown, create some, RSP meltdown, that tax efficiency there. You can see we've gotten a lot more income. We were at under $55,000. We're now a little bit over $57,000. Again, this is after tax in their pocket and adjusted to inflation. So where you see this base number here, you have a real and nominal. The real is what it's worth in today's dollars, and that stays level, $57,007. The nominal number beside it is what they'll actually receive. So if we fast forward to when they're 75, you'll see they're going to collect $72,974, which is equivalent to $57,000 in today's dollars. So this is really important to make sure you understand real versus nominal. Like, am I actually going to get more every year to keep up with buying power? As we know, inflation, things are costing more day in, day out. We need to keep up with that buying power. The next step after that was to look at a laddered income. So instead of $57,000 throughout, what they needed was about $5,000 now in go-go and about $4,500 later. So what we did is we scaled it up to $60,000 to meet their income needs all the way to age 75. At age 76, we dropped it to $54,000, which still met their income needs. And you can see here, we're good. We have enough money. They haven't run out of money. This is using a 5% rate of return, 2.5% on inflation. Fairly conservative plan, in my opinion. And this is typically how we map it out. So here we had a client that expected to work another 6 to 18 months based on the other plan that they had. When we ran this and created some tax efficiency, some structure in it, what we were able to do is get them to retirement today. They were able to retire, they're able to draw the income they need, they know where their money's coming from, when to start government benefits, all of that. Now, there's a few layers here. As I mentioned, the old age security. We looked at bumping it to age 70, but they fell short on cash flow. So we needed to start it at 65, which was fine. Again, some of these decisions are around how do I get the most money, some are at taxes, some of it is around cash flow. There's many factors and many moving parts when you create a retirement income plan. And that's why it's important to look at different options. I looked at the old age security, didn't work. We looked at CPP maybe at 69, 68. Again, 70 made the most sense. It allowed us to draw down that RIF essentially to 0 and then offset that income with the CPP amount. Now, there's a few things that you want to consider within this plan as well. Again, it met their income needs both short and long term. Now, the concern would be, well, what happens if Mr. or Mrs. YouTube passed away early? Obviously, their old age security and their Canadian pension plan are big pieces of their income from 70 forward. So let's say Mr. YouTube passed away at age 70, and it was only Mrs. YouTube, and she lost all the old age security and the majority of the CPP. You can see here, if they drew that $60,000 down and Mr. YouTube passed away, Mrs. YouTube would only be left with about $32,000. Now, again, if they had a house, maybe she's downsizing that house. There could be other factors involved. But this is a stress test that you'd want to run, because if you said, look, I don't have a big, I couldn't be able to downsize. I'm already in a condo. I can't downsize the house. If I lost my spouse, can I live off $2,500 a month? Maybe you can. Maybe your life would just be simplified and you can do it. Maybe you can. Maybe that's a reason to work a little bit longer. So again, even though we hit their income needs, there's some stress testing you may want to do to make sure that we haven't stretched ourselves too thin going forward. Again, what happens if they live longer? Well, Probably CPP and OAS would pay the bills later on, but these are things that you could test as well. So there's other factors that come into play once you create that base scenario. Now for this client, once we ran it, they were okay with that. They had a home, they could downsize the home, buy a condo, whatever it is, and cash out. Cash flow was going to be okay regardless. Now, they were only going to downsize if one of them passed away, but there was good equity there. So again, we stress tested, they were okay with it, we walked through that scenario. But again, your scenario might be a little bit different, so you want to make sure that you run these things with your financial planner. Make sure you see the numbers. A lot of times I hear your financial plan is 2 thumbs up, are you going to be okay, or yeah, you're going to retire. But where does my income come from? How do I know it's tax efficient? How do I draw down? When do I start my government benefits? There's a lot of decisions, and for most of you, you walk into retirement as an employee. You've collected a paycheck for your career, they've taken off the right amount of tax, and there's not a lot of tax planning you can do other than an RSP contribution or make a donation. That was really it. You walk into retirement and there's a lot of tax planning. You have a lot of income sources. You can start some, you can delay some are taxable, some are not. There's a lot of benefit to this. And a lot of you are walking in to retirement the same way you lived your working life, which is, I'll just draw income and hopefully it just works out. I'll pay the bills, I'll spend less than I'm making, and it is what it is. But as you can see in scenarios like this, $250,000, this couple could retire with $5,000 in their pocket after tax. It's a good amount of money for retirement. And I do plans, Canadians, coast to coast, our team works. And I can say that 5,000 would be a good number for the majority of you. And for a lot of you watching this video, you're like, if I could get 5,000, I would be ecstatic. Again, $250,000. You don't need to save a ton of money necessarily to hit your retirement goals. Now, they're retiring at 65. If you were wanting to retire at 60, obviously you're going to need a little bit more as well. So again, what is your situation? Have you planned it out properly? Have you broken down the tax structure, the planning, the government benefit timing? All of these factors have to come into play and have to be mapped out. If you haven't seen the difference between taking CPP at different ages, if you haven't seen how to draw down your RSP, if you haven't seen what your tax rates do through retirement, your plan is a failure most likely. You want to make sure you see the differences, you understand it. And when you get your financial plan, if you get your retirement plan, you need to see, where is my income coming from? I've been sent many plans over the last few months, and I can say that majority, if not all of them, I can't even find. As a financial planner doing this for 20 years, I couldn't even tell the client where their money is coming from. That's a problem. You don't just need a great plan, you need to understand the plan. You need to know how to implement the plan. That's why we like snap projections. We've then layered in our own kind of delivery process to make sure that our clients understand what they need to do. Because again, we can create a great plan for you, but if you don't know how to implement it, it's useless. So if you need help with a plan, if you feel like you're walking into retirement blind, reach out to our office, parallelwealth.com/planning. You can learn more about our services. Again, we help Canadians coast to coast. We have a team of 6 certified financial planners, all with lots of experience. This is what we do. We do retirement planning. That's all we do. So reach out to our office if you need help with this. Learn more again at parallelwealth.com/planning.